Once upon a time, two friends joined forces to bring you the best in horror entertainment. Brian from the north, Tim from the south, each bringing their own unique perspective to the horror community. Movie reviews, Blu-ray releases, beer pairings, games, and more. Welcome to your new home for horror. This is Civil Gore.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome to episode 199 of the Civil Gore podcast. I'm your host, Tim.
And this is Brian. And we made it, Tim. We made it through 14 Puppet Master films.
It's hard to believe. I've finally come to the other end.
I know.
And man, I'll tell you, like, it's been some of these episodes we've recorded. I literally finished watching the last film like 15 minutes before we started recording. Like, I just finished Littlest Reich like 30 minutes ago.
Oh my god. And see, yeah, and it's like I know our rankings. I mean, I when I was trying to finalize mine, I ran in, so I kind of a little bit. I have a few. I know we definitely differ on a lot of rankings here, but some of them we have almost exactly the same. It's a very weird thing, but it's like it's one of these series where I like literally. I think as we discuss it, I think there could be like. I could swap depending on the way I feel about it. It's a very difficult series to rank, I think, especially if you're going to go 1 through 14, you know?
I think it's because it's almost like series within series, too.
Yeah,
Unlike a lot of franchises, a lot of these films connect. It's almost like you have trilogies within the franchise. It's very strange. It's one of the weirdest. I guess most franchises don't even go on long enough to be able to form that kind of trilogies within, but this one is really, really unique. I think that's kind of why I enjoyed it, though.
Well, it's also one that
so unique.
Splits. I mean, it splits at one point where, like, towards the end, when you have a reboot storyline and the original storyline kind of going through. So, yeah, it's tricky. It's tricky, and but and the funny thing is, so we're also at episode 199, which you would think next week is going to be 200, but we actually have a couple of minisodes coming your way. We have one interview guaranteed coming up. We may have a couple others peppered in there, but we also have our Halloween Horror Nights preview coming up, our Summer SLAYCATION recap minisode, our Dismemberment. So. Like, actually, I think we're a few weeks away, actually, time-wise, from our actual 200. But I think it's going to drop while we're gone, I think, right? Actually, technically, it's like just under a month away is when the 200th will actually hit. So you have time to give us things. We got a great message from David McHugh. Already sent us in a great 200th episode. I don't know if you heard that yet, Tim. It's really, really good.
Not yet.
It's so great. So you have any things you want to send us? Even you could be an email if you're a little microphone shy. Not everyone has Tim's dulcet tones. So but yeah.
And
so
if you have like things that you want to hear, like if you have any particular sketches or things from old episodes that you thought were funny, like I can track those down and edit them in. We can like re-listen to them if you have anything that you want, because I don't. It's hard for me to go back and like do a clip show because you guys remember what we did early on more than I do.
Yeah, seriously, I don't remember this, especially when Cody will say like, "Oh, remember this thing?" and I'm like, "Oh my god." Now I do, but I didn't, because it's like it got to the point I used to back in the early days. I used to go listen. As soon as it released, I would recap and listen to it the same day it came out, and I'm like, I started to lose track of time to be able to do that. So then it just all of a sudden, next thing I know, like I record the episodes, and that's the last I hear of it. I mean, every so often I'll go back and listen to the interviews again because I want to hear. I want to improve our. Make sure our interview is at top form. So I will listen to those back a lot of times just to kind of make sure I'm like I can hone all my interview skills because those are important. You always want to be on top of your game for that. So yeah.
All right. Well, are you ready to get into this, Brian? Let's finish this thing off.
I do have a quick thing. It's not two quick things actually. One I didn't put on there. One I did. Not really traditional. I know we don't do the first chops, but I don't want these things to pass. First one is I didn't put on here was of course if you checked out we shared it on social media, but Jeff Whitmire has another opus in his repertoire that is just absolutely amazing. It's Final Girl, it's called. it's to the tune of Barbie Girl. Of course, that song. Oh my God, what was that? Was it 2000? I don't remember when it came out, but it's perfect for that, and he has a great accompanying video with it too.
That was late 90s, 97.
Late 90s. Okay, yeah, and I mean, it was one of those songs that was very catchy, and you always were listening to it. And I actually have that album, that Aqua album. Which was actually not bad, but that's not even Barbie Girl wasn't even my favorite song on there. It was Dr. Jones was my favorite on there, but yeah, so he did another great horror parody to that. It's like, it's like, and I tell you, I think they get better each time he does one, so definitely check that out. The other thing I wanted to say is from the Womp Stomp Films group, they did they're the ones that brought you Never Hike Alone and Never Hike in the Snow. They had a new Jason fan film called Jason Rising. Did you get to watch this yet, Tim?
I have not, but I've heard really good things.
Oh my God. First of all, it's probably, I mean, I have to say, out of all the ones, I've seen a ton of Jason fan films. I definitely think this one is definitely the best of that, and possibly one of the best fan films I've ever seen. It was so good. I mean, forget the quality alone, but the storyline, it had a couple of great surprises, which I definitely do not want to spoil, because there's a couple of great, moments in there for fan service. There's a lot of little throwback things. The gore is pretty good. The storyline actually is pretty interesting the way they do it. They make use of a character that you figure could never really factor into this again. That's all I'll say. But they do a good job of that in a way that I didn't expect, that I absolutely loved. I'm definitely gonna go watch this again. Actually, it was that good. Tim, I think you'll be floored how good this is. You won't believe how good. And for the fact that it's like available free on their YouTube page, like, this is something I would buy. Like, if it came for sale on Blu-ray or something, I would buy it. It's that good.
Wow. Yeah, I definitely want to check that out. I've heard really, really good things about it. So
yeah, really good, and the performances are good too. It's like there's not like a dud, like actor or something in it or anything. It's like everything about it is great. If you are a Friday the 13th fan, there's no way you're not loving this. You will nice. It could easily be placed in the chronology of the film, and people would be happy. That's how good it is. It's actually bad. I've actually enjoyed it almost better than some of the films that we did get. So yeah, so definitely check that out. It's called Jason Rising. Just Google Womp Stomp Films on YouTube. You should subscribe to them after their first two amazing ones with the of course the Never Hike Alone, Never Hike in the Snow movie. So yeah, okay. So now we can get back into Puppet Master. I just did not want those to go by without
because it'll be a while before we circle back around to
and I don't want that there already. I saw some spoiler shots from the Jason one or online already, and I don't want that to be spoiled, and I want Jeff Whitmire to get a lot of views on his thing, so I did not want to wait on those. But okay, nice. So let's get into Tim's favorite thing about reading 500 names for the Puppet Master.
So as we left off, if you guys remember, we left off with Puppet Master Axis. I'm sorry, the Axis of Evil. Yes. So that was the first in the newer Puppet Master trilogy. I say newer. I think it was 2010, 2011 was Axis of Evil. So this is the next in the Axis trilogy. We're going to do Puppet Master X, which is considered the 10th movie. These things get crazy because there's like Demonic Toys was unofficial.
Well, yeah, but they don't count. Yeah, they don't count that. That's why this could be technically 10, even though it's the 11th. But
yeah. And then we're going to do Puppet Master Axis Termination, then The Littlest Reich, and then finally Blade the Iron Cross. So let's get into it with Puppet Master X Axis Rising, 2012, directed by Charles Band, starring Kip Canyon as Danny, Jean-Louise O'Sullivan as Beth, or Jean-Louise, sorry, I don't know. Otto Brezina as Freyhofer, Scott King as Mobius, Brad Potts as Sergeant Stone, Kurt Sinclair as Major Collins, Stephanie Sanditz as Ushi/Bombshell, Paul Thomas Arnold as General Porter, Terumi Shimatsu as Ozu. Danny and Beth must battle the Nazis after they use the puppet's life-giving serum to create a race of immortal soldiers as well as some Nazi puppets. So this one takes place immediately after Axis of Evil, and you still have Danny and Beth, although Beth is played by a different actress.
So is the main guy. They replaced everybody, basically.
Yeah, it is pretty much a
whole cast replacement. I mean, not that the acting was great in the first one, but they seem to place with like less bad. It's like weird. It's like a little bit worse actors. Maybe I don't know. It just. But I think the whole thing is actually I shouldn't even say that. I think they were going for that style. They wanted the over the top 1950s.
Yeah, that's true.
Style of act. So I hate to even say bad acting. I think it was supposed to be ridiculously over the top. It's just the weird thing is like because the film quality, they didn't try and like make the film look any older, so it looked really out of place. I think all these kind of the Puppet Masters take place in this time period. In the Axis on kind of have that thing where like there's one shot, I think one of them, I don't remember which one it is, but it might be Blade, the Iron Cross, I don't know, it's in one of them where it's supposed to be in like the 50s or 60s or so, still I don't know exactly the time period, but it like there's a shot of LA and I'm like there's like way too many lights going on there that this was back then. This is obviously a current day LA shot, and look, that's fine. You don't come to the Puppet Master series looking for the perfect what is it, anachronisms, like whatever.
Historical accuracy.
But they're like whatever that term. It's like you don't come for that. You come for the puppet, and the fun, and so that said, this one kind of swapped all the actors, but continued the storyline of the next one. I think this one went a little bit more towards the comedy, and I think this one went more towards the campiness. And you know what? I actually really like this one. I love the Sergeant Stone character. He was like the most caricature of you've seen this character in a million different movies, that gruff general that has no manners, and he's but you end up liking him so much that you can't hate him, no matter how annoying he is.
The thing with this Axis series is it is so full of cliches. Like the dialogue's cliched, like the actors are the characters are two-dimensional, but you don't mind it because you kind of, like Brian said, it kind of feels like they're going for that campiness. It is a Full Moon production, so you can kind of forgive them for that. And so I was kind of the same way. Like every time I wanted to cringe at a piece of dialogue that was that you've heard 1,000 times before in other movies, at the same point, I found it kind of charming in a way.
Yeah, right. It was almost like comforting. Because you got so invested in the series at this point, and you kind of knew what to expect, because it's not like it was a drastic change. It got a little bit more comedic and a little bit more campy, but that's what sequels do, right? So you got to almost look at this Axis series as, like Tim said earlier, it's its own trilogy, which now is technically a quadrilogy, we find, as we get to later on with Blade as a continuation. But so it's you would step it up a little. So the natural progression of this sequel, I think, is really good as compared to the first one. And now it definitely, it's hard because it's you'll see when we get into our rankings. I struggled with these rankings because I did what Tim did, and how we kind of ranked them in each episode, kind of due to that kind of order. But then now trying to put them in together with all 14. Other than the one I knew was dead last, and I knew the one was second to dead last, I pretty much had those set, and I already kind of had my first three. So it was those middle ones, and I have a feeling those middle ones could end up changing at a later date if I rewatch the series again.
I still kind of kept them grouped, I guess, more or less, only because I felt like the tone and the whole production of them kind of clumped together in different sets. But I will agree that Axis Rising, to me, although the production took a little bit of a step down in terms of the acting and everything and it being a little more campy, I thought the entertainment value went up. Whereas Axis of Evil, I think on paper, is the quote-unquote better movie, better story and everything. But like I said, it took 45 minutes for anything to even happen in that film. I was a little bored, except for the intro where they did the flashback to the original Puppet Master, which was really cool. But the rest of it was a little slow for me, whereas Axis Rising, it never felt that slow. It's not, it's not wall to wall. I think Termination does a better job, as we'll get to, of pacing in terms of just constantly entertaining you. But Axis Rising, I thought was the nice balance between the it had not quite the production value had not quite devolved into what it would with Termination, but at the same time it was a lot more entertaining. You had a lot more puppets. You had new puppets, which was cool.
Yeah,
so,
you finally had you almost had a true unlike in the 4 and 5 where you had those weird creatures they were fighting. This now they kind of met their match where they had a puppet army that they were against. And it's funny it took this long to get to that in this series, but now you had these Nazi puppets versus our beloved puppets. And so there was this kind of an even battle that you'd want to see. But remember though, here's the thing. In especially in a trilogy kind of a thing, you got to remember that even though, and now granted there was a 5-year the 5-year gap in the last one. What was do you remember what the it was 2 years, right, between Axis of Evil and this one?
Yeah.
So, but if you remember, it's chronology, it literally takes place right after. So you almost have to kind of put these two movies together as a whole. So if you put those two together as a whole, you kind of see where you're at. I mean, actually, all three of these in a row, technically, all these three ones with Axis in the title, they're kind of all I think they take place in a matter of a week, maybe.
Yeah. The storyline's all very close together.
So if you think about it, it's look at it that way as a 3-act thing. So the first act was Axis of Evil. It made sense now that was a slower movie because I think there was the intention of a fuller story. I just don't know why there was a 5-year break. I think maybe because Axis Rising didn't do so well that they took that, because remember Axis Termination was crowdfunded. So maybe they just were not getting the green light to finish it. So I'm glad it finally did because it'd be a shame not to get this series finished, but then obviously continues anyway. But
But yeah, I thought Jean Louise O'Sullivan taking over as Beth, I really liked her. I liked all the characters and actors in here. So it was nothing, no major knocks against that part of it. And I, like I said, out of the whole Axis trilogy, this is the one I ranked the highest, ultimately.
Really? Okay, yeah. Yeah, I was torn between this one because I really love this one, but there's something, a little bit of the heart that I liked in the first one, which is why you'll see in my rankings it's a drop higher. But yeah, and then I guess really there's not much more to say about this one other than we like the introduction to the evil puppets kind of. But then we move on to Axis Termination, I guess, where it seems like you might have liked this one better than I did. I think I watched this twice and I still felt like there was almost too many weird things going on to it.
I'd accidentally ranked this one higher than I intended to. I did rank this one as the least favorite of my Axis series, ultimately. And the only reason really was because of the production value, because it's interesting with this one. It's from just a pure entertainment standpoint. I think there's a lot going on here. There's
almost too much. That was, I think, the problem for me.
Yeah,
there's a little too much going on.
It has a lot more characters. It introduces the Tanya Fox as Elisa Ivanov, which
I liked. That was my favorite.
I really liked her. Yeah,
she's really good.
She continues into Blade Iron Cross. So I liked her character. I liked the Doctor's character. So it introduced some really cool characters. There's a crazy twist at the beginning that you don't see coming.
Yeah,
which was really shocking. So I thought that was really bold. I thought, I felt like it was a pretty satisfying conclusion, but I couldn't rank this one higher because the production value goes way down. This one being crowd-funded and crowd-sourced, you could tell there's a big gap in quality between this one and the previous two films, and that was just enough to cause it to go down in the ranking for me. So unfortunately, I think it was, like you said, Brian, I think it was just maybe that 5-year gap was just, I think it was just too much, and it just did not tonally. Something felt like it just didn't quite mesh. Like if this had been a standalone movie, I think I might have ranked it higher.
That was my problem. As the conclusion movie, I felt like it didn't well, at the time was supposed to be concluded of this storyline. I felt like it didn't do a job. Instead, it opened up too many more things, and I'm like, "What? Wait a minute, what is this now? What is this going on? Wait, who? Why is it?" And I thought the characters like were over the top again, but not in the same campy way that I learned to love the first two. Like, other than that, like the guy who I thought was Peter Dinklage at first, because it was when he entered, it was really dark. The dark scene. It wasn't until like I got another shot of him. I'm like, oh, okay. And I'm not trying to say because he was just short like that, but it's kind of same look in the dark, just with long hair. And it kind of entered in like to some like new things. Like now there's this extra psychic thing that goes on with this guy, and there was that weird like. What was it, the smog thing that they did? Like, there was a lot of weird things in this that they kept adding to it that it wasn't. But I did realize we forgot to do our facts on it. So,
oh my gosh,
but I guess
we
like
have to
jump in
run
there
through
and do that, Tim, for Access Termination. So
it was again directed by Charles Band. It stars George Appleby as Dr. Ivan Ivanov, Tanya Kaye as Dr. Gerda Ernst, Kevin Scott Allen as Sturmbannführer Steiner Krabke. Ken is probably.
I know. I was gonna say, do we need Ken here to?
Yeah, I'm butchering these German names. He's probably laughing his ass off. Tanya Fox is Elisa Ivanov. She's really good. She continues in Blade Iron Cross, as we mentioned, and she was like one of the highlights of this.
Yes.
Alexia America as Georgina Vale, Kirsten Ostringa as Oberheller Frieda Steitze, Daniela Romer as Antoinette Longpre, Kyle DeVero as Corporal Saunders. I almost read that as Colonel Sanders.
Can you imagine?
What's the matter, Colonel Sanders?
Well, you know what? It wouldn't shock me. The way this movie was so off the wall with things, I wouldn't be surprised all of a sudden they did have a fried chicken commercial in the middle of it.
Alan Parada as General Kip Hansard, and Kip Canyon as Danny Coogan. They should have just kept the name Kip Canyon. That's an awesome name.
I know, right? I mean, it kind of teeters into the porn star name, but still, it's like I feel like
his real name should be Danny Coogan and his character name should be Kip.
Right? It totally reversed. Like, yeah, the guy like totally has the backwards name. Like his whole like. Can you imagine that though? Having to tell his family like I'm changing my name because Charles Band had a better name for me than you guys did. Imagine that family dinner. But yeah, I don't know. I just think all the stuff that here's what it is. This series this plays into my rankings later, and I'll explain it with some of my rankings. I've come to like going through this series, even seeing, only seeing a handful of these before we did this retrospective. I've come to really love this series. It was one that I thought I knew I would because I already I think we discussed this. We kind of already liked it without really seeing a large chunk of it, just because of the pop culture of it, and like the lore of it and the cool puppets that we saw that we just knew were part of the horror world without actually seeing all of the movies. So, but as I've watched this through, I really like just tend to really just love this series, love the characters, and I love what other with the give or take here or there. I love what they've been doing with it. Now, this one I felt like it just kind of like. So I'm extra critical when we're at this state, and so after watching the first one, Axis of Evil, I really liked the little storyline it was going to. I loved the continuation of it, but then this one seemed to just go off to the side a little bit more than continue it for me. And at the time, should have been the continuation, should have wrapped it up to a point. Because if you think even Blade continues the characters of it, it's still it's kind of a. It could be still a little bit removed from this trilogy, but this one, I just don't think it was. I don't think it did what it was supposed to. I think but crowdfunded things are difficult because like one of the things like if you do this, you get to get killed on screen. So like now you got to turn that in to make that part of it. And so when you're held to these, and I'm not saying Kickstarter. And look, we've seen plenty of movies that were Kickstarter and crowdfunded and whatever kind of what all the different things are called, different crowdfunding sites. Can't remember, Indiegogo, all that. I've seen them; they're great. But the thing is sometimes I feel like the movie can kind of get yourself into a spot where now you're like, okay, so we got to get this person killed, and like now you're talking about a major franchise that has had 12 movies up to this point, 11 movies up to this point.
Mm-hmm.
So, at that point, you're expecting something. So it's hard when you alter that. And I think they just, instead of concluding this little trilogy the right way, I think they just opened it up with some extra things that it probably didn't need. And it got to I think that now, not that I'm not trying to criticize her performance, because I think she did she's a performance well, but I was kind of getting sick of the Gerda Ernst character with the accent the whole time when she's just like yelling and I'm just like, it's like, this is like, all right, we've seen now 3 movies of this, and this is, instead of wrapping this up, this is just opening up more of a thing. So.
Right, it's almost like they were trying to over deliver because it was crowdsourced.
That's that was a good word that I should have used. It's like they seemed like they had to do certain things because to please now the backers that chipped in on money for it, so.
Yeah, and they're like, oh, we got to make this the most biggest blowout ever of the wrap up of the trilogy because it's been 5 years and everybody's been waiting. And yeah, I mean, I think they got a little over ambitious maybe. And like I said, I mean, it
wasn't terrible. I mean,
no, from a pure entertainment standpoint, it's probably the best paced in terms of no dull moments.
Right, like it's constant. It's constant.
Like from the beginning to the end, there's none of this long buildup that you see in a lot of the other Puppet Master movies where things don't, really don't take off until 40 or 45 minutes in.
Yeah, no, like 30 seconds in, you're in.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, I can't fault it for that. I mean, it is entertaining. It's just that, production value, and then, like you said, it's almost too much. It's almost like, okay, this tonally just doesn't fit with the rest of the trilogy.
Yeah, so. And that's why I think I had an issue with it. Yeah, you complimented my thought process well there, Tim.
I almost want to, Brian. I almost want to do something a little unconventional here. I almost feel like we need to talk about Blade: The Iron Cross now.
We could do that. We could skip. Yeah, we can skip ahead.
Next in the chronology is Puppet Master: The Littlest Reich, but this movie takes place in a parallel universe. It is completely separate. It's almost like I would call it a
Well, they're calling it a reboot type of deal.
It's a reboot. I wouldn't say a remake because it has nothing to do with the original plotline. I'd say it's like a true reboot or alternate take or whatever you want to call it. So I feel like we should really need to talk about Blade: The Iron Cross, which came out in 2020, because it is a direct continuation of Axis Termination. You've got some of the same characters. You have this one was directed by John LeChago. Again, Tanya Fox comes back as Elisa, Vincent Cusimano as Detective Lieutenant Jonas Gray, Griffin Blasey as Barney, Roy Abramson as Engineer Eric Hauser, Bobby Reed as Proc, Angelica Briones as Gloria, Todd Gajuzek as District Attorney James D. Madison.
Why do the characters have such like full titles in this? Detective Lieutenant Jonas Gray, District Attorney James D. Madison. That's just what was in IMDb. I mean, but that's how they were. I mean, the thing is, they did refer to that one guy. They're like, it's like detective. He's like Detective Lieutenant. Like he corrected him. So I mean,
that was even in the movie. You're right.
Yeah, so it's like not like IMDb is even going off the rails. That's literally the names of these characters.
This one, very much. Here's a synopsis here. In 1945, a psychic war journalist gains a telekinetic link to a murderous puppet, which is Blade, and uses its help to sabotage a top-secret Nazi experiment that involves using a death ray to transform people into zombies. I will tell you, I was super disappointed in this movie because, number one, I thought in my mind, which was probably a naive thought, it being 2020, I thought it was going to be like a really higher budget, bigger, lavish, more production. I thought this was almost going to be like a reboot of the franchise. I thought this was going to be and then Blade was going to have his own movie with maybe his origin story or something that is really going to focus on him. And what we ended up getting is literally Axis Part 4. It's the same low production value. It's the same continuation of the story. I don't even know why they call this a Blade spinoff movie. It's not really a Blade spinoff.
I'll tell you why. Basically, they kind of I mean, I think I like this more than you, but in the thing. But but I was expecting more of a Blade centric movie, and the only reason it was considered Blade: The Iron Cross is because they just took all the other puppets out. And he was the only one in it. It wasn't like they could have. This could have been any of the puppets. Technically, Like, it didn't
Right.
have, it could have literally been any of them put in his spot. Just they said, okay, well, Blade's everyone's favorite historically, it seems like. Okay, so we'll make this movie and name it after him. But with that said, I got over that, I think, disappointment quick, because here's the thing. I happen, like I said, like, one of my favorite characters out of Termination was the Elisa character, because I thought she was kind of cool. And this, they kind of made her like a cool Lois Lane, like almost like a not telekinetic, what's with ESP,
Like psychic,
yeah, but like, what's the other word I'm thinking of?
clairvoyant.
Clairvoyant, yes, a clairvoyant Lois Lane, where she's like, she basically is finding all these, she can see these things in her dreams, and she can go there, so she's always first to the crime scene. I kind of like that angle of it, and I think I like that they took one of the characters I like, in the Termination, one of the really bright spots I thought of that movie, and they continued her. So that way, I kind of liked it. Even if it, like, I mean, yes, it came to the expense of not having the true Blade solo movie that I expected or that I wanted. I got something else, and so I was okay with it, if that makes sense. Even though, yes, I wanted what I think I wanted, I didn't get, but I got something else that I maybe didn't know I wanted. It was like another cool take on a character I like in there, which was the Elisa character. And I thought it was kind of cool, like, with, that whole detective, like almost like a crime noir thing going on in it.
It did have that feel to it. Yeah, I will have to say I did like that aspect of it. But yeah, I'm completely honest. I think I rated this film probably lower than it deserved, because it's not the movie I wanted it to be. And I know that's not fair, and I hate when people do that, but this one was definitely a disappointment for me. This one got the wrath of my my disappointment.
Well, yeah, but even with this series, though, it's like it's almost like hard to not do that, because there's so many things you have to at some point give a reason behind the ranking of it, because there's some are so close, so some has to stand out. And if that's, so at this point in the game, I mean, you've seen 13 Puppet Master films to date at this point, so it's like you come to expect certain things, so you have the right now. It's not like there were 3 of them and this was like the 4th. Yeah. I mean, we went through a lot, so you have the right now to be kind of like, okay, this is what I want in my next Puppet Master film. I've sat through 13 of these things. So you have the right to be disappointed and base your ranking on it. That's good. You'll see one of my rankings, which is probably against the grain to most people. There's a reason behind it that I will gladly explain. Yeah. And I feel like I have that right, because I sat through 14 of these things.
And how many of you out there listening can say that?
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm sure like probably everyone's like, all of us, you guys are the slow one. But no.
Probably.
But yeah, no, you'll see. I mean, that's what I think. But I really did like the Tanya Fox character, and I'm glad they kind of gave her, like, they took her and gave her this like I guess some years have passed. It must have been, because now she's like working, right? Because I guess her father is now off, doing his own thing, and
there's obviously now a time difference here.
Yeah, because a little bit later in the chronology of life, I guess, at this point. But I did like that, kind of like that crime noir angle of it, with Blade, and it wasn't like they did it at least in enough that, like, and like, I mean, Blade kind of still was around, at least, I mean, he wasn't like.
Am I the only one who thought Blade looked really cute when he was crawling through the thing?
No, I said. Remember, I say that all the time. It's like I said, it's weird, but he's like, oh my, and I saw. Oh my god, I'm so tempted. It's like $200. I saw it, but they have like this life-size Blade.
Oh my god!
Like, I think it was on Entertainment Earth, but it was like it's like legit, like, movie quality version of him, like, to the point of where, other than him moving, you'd probably feel like you had the real thing. And I'm like, I am so tempted, but that maybe, like, if I ever splurge on a collectible down the road, that might be one of them, just because it's so cool.
Oh yeah, I would love to have that. They have some really nice Puppet Master collectibles that are like super, because what's nice about a puppet prop is that it's not that hard to replicate.
Yeah,
that's like one of the easiest things I would think to replicate. So I definitely want some. I'm so kicking myself I got rid of those Puppet Master action figures, because I had 6-shooter, I had Blade, I had all the core Puppet Master action figures, but at least they're making those new ones now that I can get. So those
Yeah,
are,
yeah,
those are
no,
pretty
and they're
cool.
2-packs, which are nice. Yeah, I'm gonna pick up all those from NECA. I think they come out actually next couple of weeks. They're full. Their official release is out.
And those are at least affordable. Like those are not
Yeah,
that
that was it.
expensive.
Like you can usually get them at Target if you find them like $27.99 for the 2-packs.
Yeah, I'll definitely get those.
Yeah,
But the movie I really want to talk about, because this one is where Brian and I probably diverged the most out of the whole series, was Puppet Master: The Littlest Reich. Now this one came out in 2018. We told you we were going to flip things around a little bit, but I think this one deserves to be talked about on its own. Directed by Sonny Laguna and Tommy Wickland. Stars Thomas Lennon as Edgar Easton, Jenny Pellicker as Ashley Summers, Nelson Franklin as Markowitz, Charlene Yee as Narissa, Michael Pere as Detective Brown, Barbara Crampton, who is awesome in this role. Awesome. Barbara Crampton as Officer Carol Dureski, Udo Kier as Andre Toulon, Alex Bay as Howie, Matthias Hughes as Strumbleson, and Skeeta Jenkins as Cuddly Bear. All hell breaks loose when a strange force animates the puppets up for auction at a convention, setting them on a bloody killing spree that's motivated by an evil as old as time. And this one, Brian, this is the weird, and I texted Brian this is the weirdest thing, guys. I still don't fully understand it. I really seriously don't understand it.
it's like Tim's old Mandela effect here coming up.
It is. It's like I'm in an alternate universe. I remember watching this when it came out. Like, I remember, I don't know if it was for a Halloween challenge or what it was. Now, granted, I was not deep into the Puppet Master series at this time. This is, kind of it was just a one-off, oh, there's a new Puppet Master, I'm going to watch it. I remember watching this a few years ago when it came out. Clearly remember, because I do remember the hotel. Like, that piece I remembered. I remembered there's puppets, there's a hotel. I could not remember anything about this movie from when I watched it. Period. I didn't recognize the intro. I didn't recognize the actors. I didn't recognize the dialogue. I didn't recognize the puppets. I didn't recognize anything about this movie. Like, to the point, I literally looked at the DVD case to see if there was an alternate version of the movie included in my Blu-ray, and then I was watching something that I did not watch because I don't know what drugs I was on. Oh, I don't know what was. I had a cold and I was taking Tylenol Sinus or NyQuil. I don't know. But I don't understand how I don't remember any of this movie that I clearly watched. Like, I guarantee you I watched this. It's in my letterbox that I watched this. And I can't remember a single thing about it. And I really enjoyed it. I love this movie. I thought the kills were insane. This movie, and Brian's going to give the counterpoint to this, so just prepare yourself. But to me, now granted, I will agree with Brian. This is not a traditional Puppet Master movie. The puppets are Nazis. In this one, they're pure evil. But from a broader premise standpoint of watching puppets kill people, this movie delivers in a way that no other Puppet Master movie has delivered in terms of just getting to see puppets kill people. This movie delivers that premise better than any other Puppet Master movie. So for that reason alone, as a horror fan, that's the reason I love this movie. Not as a Puppet Master fan, but as a horror fan. I thought this was a great horror movie. It was entertaining. I liked the cast. There's several of these cast members that I really like in other projects. Obviously, the highest production value of any of the Puppet Master movies. Highest budget, it looks like. So I liked I was going into this, I was watching this expecting to really not like it as much as I did, and I just came out completely entertained by it. But I'll let Brian give the counterpoint to that.
Yeah, see, so I think my problem with it is, I've always, me, I've always kind of have this love-hate relationship with any kind of reboot, especially one that goes within, goes within a series that's still not done, apparently, by the original storyline. So I have that issue right there. But I think what I did, it's like, so here's the thing. Like I said before, I've come to love this series at this point. And I love Toulon's character, and I love the puppets in this. And this, I felt like, yes, while you're right, like the gore and the puppet killing was by far, as a horror fan, the best you'll see. But it took away all the personality that the puppets had. Like, you had like a puppet you could focus on in the other ones. And I don't like that they made Toulon. They took away all Toulon's, like, depth of a character and made him this just evil guy that's not trying to pick up women at a bar in the beginning. And and that's Udo Kier. I mean, that is like a legend in horror there for me. I love that. Like, he's so good in all the stuff he does, and he's like, and I'm like, but like I said, and I was like, oh wow, he's Toulon. That's kind of cool, And I sort of had this will be interesting, but like it was so drastically different from the other series, and it just to me as a horror fan. Like, if it was a standalone movie, and I wrote this down, if you saw that, I wrote, if this was the only one I saw, I probably would have liked it a lot more. Still liked as a film, but not as a Puppet Master film. And that's what I meant. So it's like, to me, it was a disrespect of the franchise in some way. But like, if I would, like, and I loved all the characters in it. Like, I love Thomas Lennon. I'll watch him in anything.
Yes, I've watched him since he was in The State.
Yeah, I mean...
He's at Reno 911. I mean,
even in like I Love You Man, his little character in it. I mean, everything he does is like amazing. Thomas Lennon is, Barbara Crampton. I mean, do we need to go sing her praises? I felt like even that like didn't save this for me because of the what it did to the franchise that I kind of loved up until this point. I didn't even like the puppets in this. They were just like, they were so. To me, I thought they were just like they could have been anything. It could have been like a toilet bowl killing people that was in puppet size. I mean, there was not enough. Like it took away my favorite things from and I thought it was that like, and I remember how I used to say, well, I like when the puppets are really killing people. I kind of like that, but I realized I don't think that was what it was so much. I think it was the puppets themselves and their little characters and like the things they did. Like, you knew their story, you knew what was behind them, and what created them, and you knew that they were like, they were this part of this family. And in this, they were just generic toys gone wild. It reminded me of like that, like any like movie where a toy goes and toys go crazy and start killing people. And that's, to me, what was the problem. Now, if it was just a horror movie, like if I had not seen any Puppet Masters or maybe one of them, and I didn't really see that, and I just watched this, I probably would have loved this. I mean, I definitely thought the fetus scene was a bit too much, even for, not that, me, I can watch any kind of gore, but I thought that one was just a little harsh.
I was laughing through that.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's comical, but
yeah, it was ridiculous.
At the same time, that was like a little bit. And it's funny, I saw a review that almost like said my thoughts word for word. It was hilarious. I'm like, oh my God, who is this dude? He gets me, kind of thing. But and I don't know. And I like that, like the Nelson Franklin. He's been in a couple things. His character was hilarious, in there. I mean, you gotta love like Cuddly Bear. I mean, that dude. I could see like that should be like. And I'm glad they did the tease at the end that he survived. So if they do a future movie, at least he'll be in it.
Yeah.
But to me, it was like I wrote this down. To me, it was like the Piranha 3D of the series, where they took like Piranha, like if you watch the original Piranha, yeah, it has a little bit of campiness, but it's definitely more done on a serious note with like your average gore. But then Piranha 3D obviously was modernized, and they made crazy. They added tons of nudity and tons of over the top crazy gore jokes and zaniness. To me, that's what this did to the series now. But even worse, because Piranha only had 2 movies, that it could like, the one Piranha. So it's basically the remakes had just as many as the originals. But in this one, I was up to, think about it. I had seen, let's see, what is this? So this was the 13th. I watched 12 Puppet Master movies up until this point when I saw this one. And I came to love the characters of Toulon and his puppets. And I felt like this just was kind of like a slap in the face at that. So, like, if I ranked it on its own, would have been definitely a higher ranking, because it wasn't that I didn't like the movie as a whole, but it bothered me, like, where it placed in the Puppet Master lexicon, if that makes sense. So that's why I was, like, defending you when you were like, well, the same reason. Like I said, I guarantee you if I would have watched this movie first, I would have said, oh my God, I love this thing. This is awesome. This is such a great movie. But I think where I'm trying to rank it as a Puppet Master franchise specifically, and it was just as a reboot that's so different. And they say people are saying it's in the trivia that it's in a parallel universe which is why Toulon is evil and all this stuff. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. I can deal with that as a premise. But I don't know. There's something I come to love about the all the other Puppet Master films, and this was so drastically different to that, and so I don't know. I felt it didn't do the franchise justice. In the horror world, it was fine.
I thought I was kind of like of the idea that I had just finished watching 13 other Puppet Master films, and only 4 of them were any good. So I was like, this was like a breath of fresh air. I was like, oh my god, finally a Puppet Master movie that's not boring. So in my mind, although I love all the characters and stuff, I mean, the majority of the franchise is not good movies. So to me, there's only 4 good Puppet Masters. There was 4 good Puppet Master movies, 2, 3, the original, and Curse of the Puppet Master, and the rest were at best okay. So this one was like, oh my god, this movie I'm actually enjoying watching. So that was I think it was kind of you kind of went from the, oh yeah, it's taken away from, I mean, I totally get your point too, because you've kind of fallen in love with the characters and it's gone in this other direction. Whereas I think I was just so fatigued at this point, and I watched this one last out of all of them. I ended up going ahead and watching Blade the Iron Cross because,
well, I mean, it makes sense in terms of like, if you're gonna watch these, that's probably the way to go.
Yeah,
this is so different. This and Demonic Toys should you should just watch at the end.
Yeah, and so that was kind of my take. Like I was fatigued. I was ready for. I mean, after 14 films, I'm ready for this challenge or whatever you do to be over. And I think it was just like, oh my god, I finally got a really entertaining movie that I don't have to sit through 45 minutes of boredom before I get to a puppet killing thing. So I could, but I totally get your point, because it is a big directional jump for the series, and it just, like we said, guys, it depends on when you see these. It depends on what your viewpoint is at the time. And you can judge them. I can totally judge them as like I said, as a Puppet Master film. The Littlest Reich is so far off of the lore and the mythology and everything. It's a complete opposite, in fact, that it shouldn't rank very high.
Yeah.
But at the same time, as a horror movie, if you're basing these off horror movies, here's what I did when I went to rank these, because we're getting ready to talk about our rankings. I had to figure out a way to rank these, and I was struggling with how to do that. I was kind of grouping them by trilogy or mini trilogy or whatever. Finally, what I decided to do was I'm going to rank them from a did it entertain me standpoint. That's it. Was I entertained? Did the movie entertain me? That's what I'm basing this off of, and that's kind of how my rankings fell out. With, like yours, Brian, I could flop some back and forth on any given time, but I wasn't so much looking at, did the lore tie into this one correctly, or did this character stay true? I just didn't look at any of that. I was like, was I entertained? And that's how I kind of rank mine.
Are you not entertained?
Are you not entertained? So I guess I don't know how do you want to approach this, because this is a big ranking. This is 14 films we're getting ready to rank.
Well, we could break it up. Let's take a break quick and do the beer pairing I have for this.
Okay, let's do beer pairing. All right,
then we'll bore everybody with our rankings. So the beer I found is appropriate for this, since technically this is to monopolize the thing, and that's Axis IPA from Real Ale Brewing Company out of Blanco, Texas, 7.10%. So here's the description. It says, brewed up for tap walls, overrun with the white noise of West Coast IPAs, here's an offering so exotic you'd think it was from another world. Like its namesake before it, the Axis deer of Southern Asia, so too it has species of hop-forward animal magnetism comes to invade the landscape of IPAs that have long held sway over the taps of Texas' finest watering holes. That's a long sentence. And it says, tropical fruit, citrus, and a pale golden body help keep this breed light on its feet. And with a few natural predators, there is little anyone can do to stop the spread. Oh, that's not timely at all. Don't want to hear not stopping any spread right now with what's going on in the world. IPA may not have been born in Texas, but it will soon seem as native as the sky that stretches between its borders. Especially, you don't want to talk about the spread going on that's in Texas right now.
Yes.
But anyway, so there it is, Axis IPA. I think that's appropriate for this final batch of Puppet Master films.
Very nice.
So I don't know if you want to. Yeah, if you want to start, should we start from 12? Sorry, I keep thinking it's 12 movies when it's 14.
I think we got to start at the bottom. Yeah, we got to start at the bottom. Okay. So, number 14, Brian and I both agreed, Puppet Master: The Legacy. That has to be the bottom. It's a clip show. There's hardly any new content.
Yeah, and that's only why it's at the end, because it's not really a true movie. It has to go. It just has to be at the bottom, regardless. I can't imagine putting something ahead of it.
Yeah.
I mean, putting it ahead of anything.
All right. So, what'd you have for number 13?
So, not surprisingly, if you've heard the show, I have Puppet Master vs. Demonic Toys. Partially because, again, I wasn't feeling the movie. I never got to watch it a second time. Maybe I'll still do that, and maybe it'll change. But again, because it's a sidestep of the franchise, but at least it kind of had the same characters in it. But yeah, I mean, I just had to put it down because of it just wasn't part of the full franchise the part that I loved. So
I was right there with you until Retro Puppet Master came along, and the only reason I ranked number 13 as Retro Puppet Master is because I really just disliked the slow pace and the acting in this one. I don't know, something about it just really bored me, and Demonic Toys just edged it out in terms of entertainment value because you had, I don't know, it was campy, it was stupid, yes, it was. On paper, it's definitely not the better. Demonic Toys is definitely not the better of the two, but in my pure entertainment ranking, Retro Puppet Master to me is one of the most boring entries in the entire franchise. All right, number 12.
Okay,
go for it, Brian.
For me, it's the Littlest Reich for many of the reasons why I said. And if you notice, there's a trend there. The bottom three, I mean, are basically either not a real movie or it's out of the full chronology of the franchise. So you could see where I'm going there. I would stay pretty consistent to the Toulon storyline, the true Toulon storyline. And I think that's why my rankings are the way they are.
I like that. I like that as a consistency in your ranking. My number 12 was Puppet Master versus Demonic Toys. As I mentioned, it just barely edged out Retro from just a pure entertainment value. But I agree with you. It belongs towards the bottom just because it is such a sidestep away from the franchise. So, yeah. All right. Number 11.
So mine, surprisingly, because I kind of like the little mini trilogy or quadrilogy. I have Axis Termination there, just because of the cloudiness and the extra stuff that wasn't needed, and the kind of like you said, the low production value. Just the watering down of things in it, and then adding too much at the same time, which is hard to do. You either water it down, usually don't do both, but it managed to do it both. And I think it was because I'm punishing it because it disappointed me in the little mini trilogy / quadrilogy element of it. Although it does, like I said, the benefit it has is the Elisa character, which I liked. And I hope she continues in future movies if they go that way. So.
For my number 11, I had Blade the Iron Cross. I had this one the lowest ranked of. I could still consider it an Axis movie, even though it's not. To me, it was the lowest ranked. I could see this changing. I could see this definitely flipping with Termination, depending on if I watched it again, maybe. So I'm not. This is a loose number 11 for me. I think I only put it there because I was really getting franchise fatigue by the time I watched this one. But
it was hard to watch as many as we did
in that short of period of time.
I mean, literally a month's time to watch all of these.
All right, so that brings us to the top 10. So number 10, Brian.
So for me, it's Puppet Master 5. This one suffered because it literally was just a lesser version of Part 4. It was the same movie, like we discussed, but yet. It literally did nothing different. Like, it literally almost had the same type of ending. It just was not anything. But the reason why it stays it's as high as it is at some level and ahead of some other ones is because I liked 4. So it's it was a very tricky spot to put that ranking on. It was really hard to find a spot for it because like I know it's literally 4 and 5 are like one thing at some level. It suffered because it wasn't at the same time, because it basically broke off into 2 movies, and I just thought 5 was like pretty much the same what we saw in 4, just not as good.
Well, number 10 for me, I had Puppet Master Axis Termination.
So we seem to both have that around the same kind of.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you on Puppet Master 5. Like, in terms of, I could definitely see putting it below some of these Axis movies, but I found it really difficult to split it from 4. In my mind, I could not take it that far removed from 4 because it did feel like a second half of that movie. So I ended up having to put 4 and 5 above the entire Axis trilogy. And for another reason, too, I felt 4 and 5 was the last of like the original, truly original core puppets. Because I think by the time Axis came around, they were using different puppets. So that to me, I kind of felt like those were still classic Puppet Master, and that's why I had to keep those together. So yeah, my number 10, Axis Termination.
Yeah, a lot of people consider 1 through 5 like the classic Puppet Masters, and then after that it's all across the board. So
yeah. All right, number 9.
So number 9, and this could flop with 8, but I think, and it's like the more I talk about it, I'm almost like leaning that way. But I'm gonna stick with what I have right now. And so I have 9 as Blade the Iron Cross. Just because, I mean, we said it. Well, I liked it. I really liked the Elisa character. I liked the way they did. Even though it wasn't the Blade movie per se that I had hoped for, it gave me something else that I didn't expect that I liked. And that was that little, like, almost like that crime noir, twist to it and they really developed a character I liked and gave her a really cool storyline arc. So.
My number 9 was Axis of Evil. I thought that was the second best of the trilogy. I love the intro with the callback to the original Puppet Master. My only real knock against Axis of Evil, frankly, is it's a little slow to start. And that's kind of a hallmark of a lot of the Puppet Master films. They don't really get started until like the 45 minute mark. That's really the only drawback I could say to Axis of Evil. It has some really good characters. It has a good story. So even though it's number 9 on the list, it's actually still worth your time. The whole Axis trilogy, I think, is still pretty entertaining. Yeah. But this one just to me was not quite as entertaining as Rising, which ends up getting kind of the balance right. Yeah. Number 8.
So for me, it's Retro Puppet Master. I know I definitely like this one more than you, by a lot, I guess. I just like I like the origin story of how Toulon and Elsa met. I like that. I like that character. I just like the whole thing, and it kind of explains. Really, it shows how they came to be, and it kind of explains Toulon's character in a way. And I would have liked, obviously, to have little better. Like, it was a very like one-note performance by Greg Sestero, but overall, though, I just like the whole thing of it. I kind of like the cool angle of the old, like, I don't know, something about it I kind of liked to it. But like I said, I think I could possibly swap this and have this drop down and put Blade up 1 higher, just because then it kind of fits almost a little bit more in with the other groupings of the Axis for me. But I'm gonna leave it the way it is right now. But like I said, I think I could. It's hard. This series, I think, could flip flop. I mean, when you have that many of them, and you've seen a lot of these just once on the way through, it's hard to like really put them in any kind of exact order.
Yeah. With number 8, I went with Axis Rising. I kept the Axis trilogy together. Actually, with Blade the Iron Cross.
Oh yeah, look at you! You went like all 4, right?
Yeah, I kept the whole trilogy together. I just felt like tonally they just all fit, and it was easier for me to rank them together as a grouping. So Axis Rising was my favorite of the Axis series. I thought it had the perfect balance between not too slow a pace, but it still continued the Axis storyline, and it had new puppets, and it wasn't as crazy. It didn't get as crazy over the top, and the production value was still okay compared to Termination. So that's why it gets the highest of my Axis rankings at number 8. So number 7, Brian.
So number 7 for me was Axis Rising. I really loved that's the the continuation of that storyline, and I loved the sergeant character, and I thought it was I gave it an extra bump, like like I punished the other one for Puppet Master 5 for doing what it did and that, but I gave this one a high thing because I thought I'm rewarding it for doing what a good sequel would do to the original, if you like it, which was just up it a little bit, increase a little bit, exactly what you love about the first one and kind of plus it up. And that's what I thought that one did. So that's why it's so high. I mean, I'm high. I mean, it's 7, but out of 14, that's not bad.
No. Yeah, number 7 for me was Puppet Master 5. This one was the lowest ranked for me of the core Puppet Master films, which I think is for both of us is the case, even though mine was ranked a little higher on my list than in Brian's. But again, you'll see how I kind of grouped mine together as we continue. So number 6, Brian.
So number 6 for me is Axis of Evil. Because I love this storyline. Like I said, I thought this one was it was almost like the Captain America storyline in a way, but like mixed with Puppet Master characters. So, and I thought it was cool. It had a little bit of heart into it, and it had like it had that one ninja puppet that never was seen again, but still it was
well, he's a ninja.
Cool.
You're not supposed to see him.
Yeah,
again.
You're not supposed to ever see him again. Yeah, no, I don't know. I just liked it. I don't know. I kind of I liked the start of that trilogy. I thought it was on to something. But yet it's still not as as great as the original first few there, but I give it respect. I kind of enjoyed it, so that's why it's kind of like right in the middle there essentially.
Number 6 for me was Puppet Master 4. As you can see, I kept it kind of closely ranked with Puppet Master 5 because I felt like they're pretty much one big film. And the reason it's ranked at number 6 is because my top 5 to me are the most entertaining of all the Puppet Masters. So it kind of gets edged out. Now, this next one at number 5 is interesting because Brian and I both ranked our number 5 as Curse of the Puppet Master.
Yeah.
And when I was reading the trivia for this movie, I couldn't believe like this movie was thrown together. I mean, it rehashes a script from another movie. It was filmed in like something like ridiculous, like 2 days or something. Not 2 days, but it was like ridiculously short film time. It was literally thrown together, and for some reason, I find it one of the best Puppet Master movies.
Yeah, same. I don't remember I don't know. Like this should have been literally a disaster. It
should have been, yeah.
But something about it, you know what I think? Because in some ways, it still retained the heart of that original plot, where like the puppets
it got
will
back
be loyal
to the heart. Yeah, it got back to the heart after 4 and 5.
Right. Like, because because the puppets will serve their master until the master basically shows them that they're not like when they have ill intentions, and then they're gonna go after you. And I'm glad it did it, and it kind of went back to the whole theme of the series so far. And I think it was nice after 5, so it kind of might have gotten an extra couple of bumps just for that.
I think so, yeah.
But still, overall, it was really enjoyable, and I liked, it had some good, it had like a little, it had a replacement Toulon kind of character in it, but still, it was still good. It still had the puppet show in it, it was like it had the basics.
I think it's fairly highly ranked in most rankings I've seen, actually.
Yeah, it's definitely not one of the lower ones.
So. No. So number 4, Brian.
So number 4 for me, and this is where we drastically differ, but for me, 4 is actually 4, which is Puppet Master 4, and it's because, after seeing the first 3 at this point, it definitely went a different way, but it was very timely. It was very, like, it had just like an 80s fun, like almost like flashback feel to it for me. And like I said, I love that scene where he had the puppets playing little laser tag with him and stuff. It just kind of did some cool stuff with it. I mean, granted, it had some stuff that I did not like that like weird mummy character thing in there with those, like, I didn't really like the little things, but for the first time it really gave what I think what it gets credit for to me is that it gave the puppets like an enemy like kind of their size that they could battle against. You know, it was like
Yeah.
and it was kind of fun. Like it finally had to like it was always killing people, and it was like while you loved every second of it, it was there's a little bit of like, all right, you're gonna have to buy this premise that these little puppets could literally kill a human 6 times its size. But yeah, so I think that's what why it got a credit, because it kind of like it still had the it did a couple of things that like the other movies didn't do without totally straying from the things I loved. I mean, it didn't really have all the it definitely more of a time period feel to it than with that 80s kind of feel, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think it deserves its place there, like in the top grouping for me.
My number 4, again, this is where Brian and I
Yeah.
really differ. I went with Puppet Master Littlest Reich because to me, again, remember my rankings are based off pure entertainment value, and for my money, I thought the Littlest Reich, outside of the original trilogy, which I kind of hold sacred now because of the whole Toulon story, like I feel like I can't rank anything higher than the original trilogy. To me, the Littlest Reich was the most entertaining of the franchise from there on out. So that's why it gets the number 4 spot, which is completely surprising to me that I ended up ranking it that high. But when I was going back and forth, I went back to my premise. I'm ranking these for entertainment value. How much did I enjoy watching them? And that's where this one fell really, really high up on the list. Okay, that brings us to our top 3, Brian. I think everybody kind of knows our top 3 already from our first episode. But I guess
we're almost perfect. We're almost exactly the same for 3, except we flopped one.
Yeah, so we both had the original Puppet Master come in as number 3, and
which is rare for me. That's rare for me. Not
very
to put the
rare.
Original.
Well, it's rare for me
1.
too. I mean, usually, especially 3rd. Now, I could see it maybe being 2nd, but for me to place it 3rd. But if you look at the original 3, the original Puppet Master is probably the slowest paced of the 3. And you did not have that Toulon mythology to really explore at the time it came out. Right. So it doesn't have a lot of that. So even though it is the original and it kicked everything off, from a pure entertainment value, it's not the best movie. And I've looked at a lot of Puppet Master rankings on the web. I don't think I've seen one where it had Puppet Master, the original, as the top Puppet Master movie.
Yeah, I didn't either. I thought a lot more like kind of steered the way we kind of have it.
Yeah, so that's not surprising. Now, when we get to 1 and 2, of course, Brian ranked Puppet Master 3 as his favorite and Puppet Master 2 number 2nd. I flipped that. I have Puppet Master 2 as my favorite and Puppet Master 3 as my 2nd. Again, I don't think either of us is wrong. I think they're both really good sequels. The only reason I gave Puppet Master 2 the edge was because it had a little bit of a tourist trap feel to me. It had the whole Invisible Man feel with Toulon's bandaged character. I just love the horror elements of Puppet Master 2, and that's why it took a slight edge over 3 for me, even though I really, really enjoyed the Toulon mythology of 3, which I thought was really, really well done. 2, just the horror fan in me just gives the slight edge to 2.
Yeah, and I just love the 3 because you really, for the first time, really see like what makes Toulon in the 3rd, and that's why I made that one the first one. And I love that whole revenge against the Nazis angle. But like it's like a close, to 2. I like 2 and 3 to me. I wouldn't go far as to say I'd flip flop them at a point, but it's like as close as you could get to having a difference in there. Like if this was like let's say I like Puppet Master was I ranked it a 10, this would have been like a 9.9. Like that close, maybe a 9.95, like that close of a difference. Because like I said I loved it. Like the 2 had just a super, like you're right, as a horror thing, has a super creepy feel to it, and like just that creepy Toulon like full size puppet thing it was like as creepy as you can find. I mean, but But like I said, I mean, since Toulon's character, I feel like so endeared to the whole character and the puppets and everything. That's why I liked 3 so much, because it really like you're like, I get him now. You know, it's like I felt like for the first time in the first out of the 3 movies, I really get him, because you don't like in the second one, you're not really he's like, well, he's kind of a dick. It's
yeah.
And like, yeah, I get it. He loves his. He loved his woman, and he's trying to bring her back and someone else, but hey, dude, this is not her, kind of thing. But in this one, you kind of see like the love affair that they had, even for the brief moments in the beginning together, and you see what he's driven to, like how he's like, his whole, his whole being was explained in 3 to me, and again, I think that's why I liked Retro Puppet Master so much, because it had that whole Toulon Elsa like love story impetus into it. So I think that's why I think I connect that one a little bit closer than you do too. And it's like, so I can forgive some of its slow points and some of its faults, but and I did give Retro Puppet as a prop just for being a little different, but staying in the same storyline kind of thing. So.
Yeah. Well, this one's gonna be really fun. So we decided to rank the puppets, and now we're only good. There's tons of puppets in the series.
We're actually pretty close though in a lot of these.
But we only decided to do 8 puppets. So these are like the core. I would say through the first 6 films, right? These are like the core original OG puppets. So we're gonna do the top 8. So let's start at the bottom again, Brian. What is your worst puppet out of the 8 that we have on here? I think we both tied.
Yeah,
for this
it's Decapitron, because it's just stupid.
Decapitron is so stupid. So
Decapitron, stupid idea, stupid puppet. They and it's like they used the same gimmick with him twice, 2 movies in a row. It didn't work the first time. I thought it was silly. It's sillier even the second time. Yeah, it's just doesn't have any like. And it's funny because like it's just like you would think like, oh, what a cool like. But it just
you could change his head. Right. Yeah, it did. And did the stupid putting Guy Roth's.
Oh my god, that looked so awkward. It was like not even lined up right.
It was so bad. It was so bad. Yeah, Decapitron. He was the puppet in 4 and 5. He's terrible. So yeah, he definitely gets the bottom. Now this next one, number 7, we both had Torch, which it really pained me to put Torch this low on the list.
Me too. I had trouble with a lot of them past the first 2.
Yeah, because Torch is a great puppet and he kills a child, which is awesome. So, Torch, I really like the whole idea.
Coming from the father of 2 just says that.
Yes, and I'm laughing in glee that he killed a child he actually had a working flamethrower arm, like the puppet actually had a working flamethrower. I mean, he's super cool, but he just got pushed to the bottom. It's not through any fault of his own. He got pushed to the bottom because the other ones were better.
Seriously, after my first 2 favorites, which probably you could guess already because I've said it throughout the series, but like the rest of them, I felt like bad, like putting them down. Like I had to I really had to trouble, like especially the next one, which I happen to love this. Oh no, not my next one yet, but coming up, there's one that I'm like, I wanted to put him higher, I just couldn't find a space for him.
Yeah. So number 6, Brian, who'd you have?
I had Tunneler. And only again, he was a fun puppet, especially because especially I liked him. My favorite Tunneler moments were in 4 when he darted off to play the laser tag game. Just something funny looked about him, the way he did that. And he had some cool kills, where he'd just bury himself through somewhere. But at the same time, it's the other puppets that had a little bit more gimmick to him that I liked. So he was. I think he's just down because of the other ones I love so much. So I think at this point, it almost becomes it's now just I love them all, but which ones I like a tad bit more.
Yeah, I had Tunneler higher on my list. For number 6, I had Jester, and this really pains me too because, like you said, I love all these puppets, so they're just getting pushed down for no reason. Yeah. The only reason I put Jester so low is because you hardly ever see him kill anybody. He just kind of stands around and twirls his head around. So I like him as a character, and I still don't even know how they do the head spin thing. and make it stop in one position. Like I don't even know how they do that. That's really cool.
Probably because some kind of stop motion thing, or it's got one of those things like those where you can spin it and then you hit something and it like literally stops the mechanism dead in its track.
Yeah, I don't know.
Like something like that.
I love that.
I'm sure if we watched one of the 82 features that are on our discs, we'd find it.
I thought, but I love that piece of it, but I just never see him kill anybody, so that's why he gets kind of low on the list. But, number 5, we both had Pinhead. Pinhead, I don't know. I'm kind of torn on Pinhead. Like he does a lot of kills. Like he's like a major character in there, but like. Out of the major characters, he's like not my favorite. It's weird. It's like I had to put Jester below him just because Jester has fewer kills. But from a pure character standpoint, I've never really felt super attached to Pinhead.
You know what it is? I have like a soft spot for him because I feel bad for him. He always looks sad.
He's just a lovable. He is.
Yeah,
well, he's got like one eye
guy. He's got like
shut.
He's got his little like shirt, like clothes on. His little like sweater kind of thing going, and it's like he kind of like. I don't know. I feel like he'd be the one. He's the one puppet that like, I don't know. People would like not respect enough, and like I kind of like, he's like the underdog in some way, even though he's not really an underdog. But I don't know. So that's why I wanted him higher, but I just couldn't put him higher.
I love when they use real
hands.
I like. I love when they use real hands.
Yeah, like he had some cool moments, and he was just like. Something about him was like I think because he was so recognizable all the time, like I knew him. Like there were some of the other puppets like I did like I didn't know until I saw the movie per se. Like I didn't for all I knew they could have been from Demonic Toys, kind of thing. But like he was one that I always just knew was from Puppet Master, and I always kind of like just his little like little pinhead, and he had this like little grunty face kind of thing. So I don't know.
The next one I had, number 4. Okay, I'll let you go ahead and take this one, Brian. Number 4.
Yeah, so it's funny. I had Jester there only because I loved like his like the thing that Tim I know he didn't kill, but like Tim said, like the thing where he'd spin and then he'd go to like this emotion, like he'd either be happy or like sad, or he'd have these funny things, and it's just something about him was kind of entertaining. So he's there for a pure entertainment factor, like because I loved when they he would spin around and like when you knew something bad was gonna happen, and he'd have like that like the shocked face.
Yeah, like
just that. I don't know, something about it was kind of like cool, slightly creepy, but like I don't know, just something about him like would like dictated the mood of the scene at times. So I don't know, I give him some extra bonus points for that.
Number 4, I had Leech Woman. I don't think she's like. Because her look changes from film to film. Like this is the one puppet that is completely inconsistent from film to film. But I love when she's gagging out leeches. I thought I laugh every time. I think it's hysterical, and how her mouth gets all big and she like blobs this leech out. She makes no sense. Like out of all the puppets, it makes the least sense out of any of them. Like where does these leeches hide in her stomach? Like what is going on here? How do they kill people? Like,
and she was Elsa basically. So why is she? Yeah, like where does Elsa and the leeches come in together?
Yeah, there's nothing about Leech Woman that makes sense, but I just like her because she's so bizarre. And the only reason she was at number 4 is because I had one more that went slightly ahead, and I'll explain why in a second. Yeah. So,
well, and it's funny because my 3, the next one is 3 is mine is Leech Woman because it was Elsa, and I did love the fact that she was just somehow this puppet. Like all the other puppets kind of, you can explain their mechanisms like a little bit. Like, you can explain, okay, you can put bullets in 6-shooter. You can put flame, but some kind of oil inside of, torch and get him to, do that thing. But like she was so unexplainable that it's kind of cool. And I love the fact that the way she did it, especially I think it was one of the coolest moments I thought in Termination was when that one girl had the guy in the bed. Tied to the bed, and then Leech Woman just would lean over and like drop the leeches into his mouth. I'm like, oh, that's good. Like such a great use of that puppet at that point. It was one of the best sequences in terms of perfect puppet for the task.
Yes. For my number 3, I had Tunneler. I had him quite a bit higher, Brian, and one of the reasons is because he reminds me of Nien Nunb from Star Wars. Remember
I see. Yeah,
the
the
Celestin
face,
with
yeah.
the eyes, the black eyes. But I like him because Tumblr has some of the best kills in the series. Like he's the guy that if you really need something killed, you just have him drill into your stomach or something. I mean, he's really good at killing. So I don't know. I like his expression. I like his little face. I just like everything about Tumblr.
He almost has like this childlike whimsy about him.
He does. He's very cute.
As he's drilling through a person's like stomach.
And I don't know why his eyes are like pure black. Like just something about the character, like it really fascinates me. He has like kind of an alien quality to him.
Yeah,
I don't know what it is. I think he's really cool. And then Brian and I both agreed on number 1 and 2.
Yeah.
So number 2, we had to put 6-shooter because.
Yeah, just the laugh.
The laugh.
Like the fact that the guy literally's got 6 arms that all shoot little guns. I mean, he's very like very signature looking. Like he's got like a big expression. He's like Woody if he went evil and like grew 2 more sets of arms. It's like
he's actually the most traditional looking puppet,
right? Yeah, I was gonna say he's the most familiar to people. Like he's like a puppet you would have had just add 2 extra arms on each side, and then you have like this like thing, and I just love the fact the way he like would the little guns would shoot out, and just I don't know, just something about him. It was always kind of fun to me. I mean, think about it. We did a beer pairing for him specifically because it was cool.
And of course, number 1, no surprise, it's everybody's favorite puppet.
And I don't care how cliche it is either, but.
No.
There's a reason why he's everyone's favorite.
Blade was the first puppet you see in the whole franchise. He's the star of the show. He's the puppet you see on every cover of every movie. I mean, he is just the coolest. And I even liked. I don't typically like when you mess with my icons, but I actually kind of like the more skull-like version in Littlest Reich of Blade. I thought was still kind of cool. It wasn't Blade, but it was still kind of cool.
Well, yeah, but that was one. I'm glad you brought that up because that was one of the things that bothered me is that they reduced Blade to like not really Blade, just like a Blade light. Like, I mean, yes, he was still somewhat featured the most because that was the one Thomas Lennon's character had. But I mean, I just like to me like don't I like. Like, I thought, like, I don't mind, like, a creepier version of Blade. Just give him the same kind of Blade characteristics. Like, I wanted him walking around and being kind of like the lookout, like the leader, He was kind of like the leader of the puppets. And, like, in this, there was, like, just, he was just another puppet, essentially. Like, they could have put anybody in that spot, and it would have been the same.
But so no surprise there that Blade was our favorite. So that is the Puppet Master franchise. It was I'll tell you what, I'm so happy we did this though because I thought I knew way more about this franchise than I actually did. I thought I had seen more movies than I actually had. So it was like a fresh franchise to me. Yeah. And it made me appreciate Full Moon stuff way more than I did even before. I found a very new appreciation for this series, and even though I'm harsh on it by saying there's only like 4 or 5 good movies and the rest are kind of just okay to terrible, there's still, even the worst ones have a little bit of charm to them just because of the puppets. So they're all, I would recommend this franchise to anybody. I mean every horror franchise is going to have duds. I mean every single one, especially if you go 14 films. So this one, to me at least, there's a heart that runs through it. I think you had a good point, Brian, when you said Axis of Evil had heart. Axis of Evil. There is that heart that runs through this whole franchise at some level. Sometimes it's there more than others, but at some level there's a consistent vision here. It has its ups and downs, but unlike a lot of franchises that have a lot of different hands in the pot, I think Charles Band kind of keeps this ship somewhat on course. For better or for worse. So yeah, definitely check out the Puppet Master series, and if you can ever get a chance to get that box set from Full Moon,
because they're gonna eventually run out of that. That's not gonna be like, they're not like, probably what they have is what's left. Whatever they have left is I don't think they'll redo that series. I mean, what they may do is eventually possibly release a set that includes the Blade version. I don't think they'll include Littlest Reich because that wasn't even Full Moon, right? That was Fangoria did that one. Yeah, technically. So I don't even know did Full Moon actually have anything to do with that. Can't
I know they mention it in the credits, but
right, but I don't know if that's like just because of they own the franchise and they kind of give it. But like, and I don't think Demonic Toys will ever be in that one. I mean, to even find that on release, there was like a DVD I think years ago, and but so it's not on Blu-ray. So you're looking at So I mean, if anything, they may increase the disc by one. And we didn't even watch that. There's that special on there. We should have. I mean, if it wasn't so many films, I would have done that Arcana of the Puppet Master, which is a bunch of like I think like a retrospective series. Which I do want to watch, but yeah, no, I think if you can get I recommend everyone if just sign. I mean, for $60, not only do you get that amazing set, but you get a year of Full Moon, which is constantly they have all those series. So you're basically getting like a digital copy in some way because they're all on there, give or take. I don't think Blade is on there. It's Littlest Reich isn't on there, and Puppet Master vs. Demonic Toys isn't on there, but all the other ones are on there. A bunch of little special features are on there. And then you get the entire Full Moon library. They did take away the naughty movies that they had on there. They moved it to their, I guess their naughty service. I don't know. I didn't even notice like there were that many things on there until they said they were taking them away. I'm like, oh, now that whole little section down at the bottom. I guess that was what they took away. But so I mean, but there's like some fun. There's a lot of like you can get. I think like all the Evil Bong series is on there, right? The Doll Man is on there.
Yeah, I mean some of them are like
Demonic Toys.
Yeah, like some of them are very like again.
They just added that Baby Oopsie series, right? Is on there.
Yeah, the Miskatonic University series is actually really good. I mean,
that's right. I gotta
that one's actually really good. So yeah, I mean, and you got to know what you're getting into with Full Moon. I mean, it's gonna be campy, it's gonna be low budget, it's gonna be cheesy, but if you like that sort of thing, I mean, it's super entertaining. I love having access to the Full Moon streaming.
Yeah, thing. And listen, I already plan to buy like another year of that, like at $60 and get whatever another deal, like because there's other deals we can get like 12 Blu-rays or something like that. Yeah. I mean, I would totally, but for $60. I'm basically like making I'm swelling the monolith and getting a year more of Full Moon. And that's one of the services I found myself using a lot because it came in handy because a lot of times like Julie's watching TV and want to bother her and put on it. I mean, because it's bad enough for us to watch 14 Puppet Master movies, but like for Julie to get stuck watching as many as she did. She watched a couple of, she saw the part of the Littlest Reich. That was the thing where the one, blonde actress with the really really fake boobs was on the screen as she happened to walk in there. That's where she
I knew it. I knew it instantly.
Yeah, she uttered the line. She goes, "Boy, that is a lot of excess boob." And like Tim thought when I first told Tim he hadn't seen it yet, so he thought he meant like the amount of boobs you saw on TV, but she meant that specific set of boobs was very excess because they were very like as fake as you could possibly make a boob. These were.
It was. So
that was so it's like and it's so funny, it feels like it was like a year ago we watched like the first 3.
I know. But like we said at the start, so the 200th episode's coming up, and it's gonna be a little while. We're gonna have, like we said, dismemberments, mini-sodes, interviews coming up between that, so you still have time to get stuff in. Send us some emails, send us some voice messages. We'll get all those in for the 200th, and we're kind of intentionally taking a little bit of a break from full episodes so that we can make a really good 200th episode, and also to kind of catch up from this series, because this really took a toll in terms of trying to watch these films, plus my move, plus trying to get shows recorded, plus doing interviews on top of that. So it kind of gives us a little bit of a breather as well to kind of reset, because we got a big haunt season we're getting ready to get into with our Universal trip. It looks like there's a chance I might be doing Scarowinds this year.
Nice.
In October. So yeah, there's a lot of good stuff coming up. So we kind of got to reset and get ready for all that kind of stuff.
I'm jealous. I miss Scarowinds. I miss getting chased by 300 people coming out of the bathroom.
Well, see, my dad is redoing. He's going to do his Halloween party again this year. My dad did a Halloween / birthday party for decades, and when he retired, it got to be just too much work, and he said, "You know what? I'm not doing it anymore." And then COVID hit, and this year, he, out of the clear blue, he decided, you know what, I'm doing it again. We're doing it, at least one more time this year. So he's going to have it at his place on the 15th, and that's going to be a Friday. So I think we're going to go up for that, do the Halloween party Friday night, and then spend all day Saturday at Carowinds and possibly do Scarowinds on the 16th. So,
oh man, I want to come down for that.
Yeah, you should.
It'd be tough, but I might be maybe who knows? Who knows what's going on back then? Like, all I know is right now Tim and I are ecstatic, and you'll know when we do our preview for this that we are ecstatic for our Horror Nights trip to return. Although obviously in Florida's not exactly the most welcoming place right now, and with all the
it's going to be super scary.
Cases, but yeah, it'll be an extra level of scary. But we're gonna be masked up and bring you as much content as we can because we have those Civil Gore masks that I have 2 of those. I have some other fun ones, and I've found online. Tim and I found some cool fun ones that we'll wear. So that'll be almost like we'll do like a mask fashion show as we're there too. So.
Yeah, we're really gonna try to do. I know we say that every time, but this year I think we're a little more prepped to do more video. So even if it's brief, we'll just post it on YouTube and post some videos of us walking around and
I mean, like I figured we'll do some Instagram stuff, maybe some Instagram live things, and then like we can do and then eventually we'll pop them on YouTube, and eventually we can hopefully edit up something. But yeah, I think it'll be more fun. Like I'm gonna like start early, like even like with the doing some packing stuff. Like I'll believe it or not, as crazy as this is, I've already like laid out stuff in the guest room, like stuff I know I'm gonna be taking for Horror Night, specifically like the new Civil Gore like merch I got. I don't know if you guys checked our store lately, but I kind of like added a ton of colors and options, especially in the women's line, because I know that way Olivia and Julie could buy some merch to wear. Because last time we had those cool shirts that were custom that Julie designed, but the problem is they waited so long to announce everything like this. We knew every house like 3 months ahead of time last time. This time they just dropped all the houses recently, and there's no way in time. Like, I mean, we had time to like have Julie design like that event shirt to do, and then get it printed in time, and it's not what's going to work. And especially because we have our own merch now. We didn't have that back then. We just had I don't think we had the store then. We just had the custom shirts that we had ordered. But now that we have the store, and one of the cool things we got is like we'll even be repping at poolside, because now we have those sunscreen shirts that you can go in the water in. So like I'm going to be wearing that at the pool. So you maybe even get some poolside content from us as we're relaxing, because our first day is going to be relaxing at the pool up until we go into our first night of Horror Nights. So all right, guys. So we stay tuned for our social media. Right now, I don't think we really even know exactly what order things are going to release. So just kind of keep an eye on Twitter and Facebook, and we will announce episodes and stuff as they're coming out. So you'll get plenty of content before the 200th. We just don't know what order you. Yeah, I do know that. I think our plan is to drop on a special like Friday release for the Horror Nights preview, because that's the first day of Horror Nights, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the day we're gonna that Friday the 3rd, I think, of September. That's the day we plan to drop that. So that way at least you'll anyone that's planning to go will have like our little take on it, even though we're definitely not as professional bloggers or anything. We're just gonna mostly it's gonna be going over all the houses and stuff, and basically saying what we're excited for, kind of stuff like that. But it'll be fun either way.
All right, guys, we'll see you soon. Take care.
Yes.